I was thinking because you say, well, Yoko was taking care of business, which was more or less all the time, especially at night, and also at any other time. She just took short naps, and all the time she was on the phone. And how did John put up with all this Yoko being on the phone all the time? He was
Well, it
pretty
used to drive him
patient.
crazy. Yeah, it was very hard for him because, yeah, she was an insomniac, and she liked to talk on the phone half the night, and so Yoko would often be in her office downstairs in Studio One on the phone, and John would be in the bedroom, and sometimes she'd start making calls in the bedroom. In the middle of the night, and John would kick her out because he wanted to sleep. So it was it wasn't easy being married to Yoko. Let me put it that way. It wasn't a fairy tale that they later portrayed to the media, which was really a propaganda to sell the record, and they wanted everybody to believe that they were this great happy couple, the Romeo and Juliet of the 1960s, because they had invested a lot of themselves into this myth, and the reality for those of us who were around was, of course, very different.
Yes, I imagine because you say John tried very hard to please her, and he tried to be affectionate and everything, but she wasn't really that reciprocating, and also that
No, she
she
wasn't. She
yeah.
wasn't really interested in John. She had lost interest in John once she got him back in 1975, and that's when the relationship really started to deteriorate. But John was totally dependent on her, so she could treat him with total indifference, and he would put up with it.
Well, this is what puzzles most of John's fans, that he
Yeah.
seems such intelligent man, and he used to be his own man. I know Bill Harry, whom I interviewed, John's friend from his art school days. He said that John really stopped being his own man once he got together with Yoko. He was a totally different person, and that
Well,
seemed to
what
be.
happened? What happened was that John was intelligent, and but he was emotionally very weak. Because he'd had such a horrible childhood, and Yoko was able to exploit that, and she was able to almost brainwash him, and he lost control of his life. And it was sad to see. It took me a while to figure it out, but it was very clear to see for a lot of people who were around. Really, Yoko had all the power in that relationship, and John had no power. He was just like completely dependent on her. It was
Yes.
very, very strange.
And she was using a kind of manipulation and control through all this Mercury retrograde, astrology garbage, and all sorts of, like the TripAdvisor, the Japanese man who dictated which way and how to travel, and all that seems absolutely
John really
mad.
believed that Yoko was a powerful sorceress
Yes.
who had black magic at her disposal, and he bought into that. And she did some pretty amazing things. She managed to get pregnant at age what was she was like 40 in her 40s when she became pregnant with Sean. She gave birth to Sean on John's birthday, and on the same day he got his green card to stay in the United States. So as far as John was concerned, she really had a lot of power, and she was able to do these amazing things. So, and she used that to control John and to manipulate him. Like if she didn't want him to go somewhere, she said, "Well, John, it's not a good day to be going out because Mercury is in retrograde." That's one of the things that
That's right.
they kind of believed in, Mercury retrograde, which is an astrological
facts. Yes, some astrologers particularly believe
how you feel about astrology. You may believe it or not, but there is something to it. And John was naturally fearful and paranoid, so he was easy to manipulate. Yeah, well, John knew about Sam Green, of course, but he didn't know how serious it was. I mean, Yoko really wanted to marry Sam Green. She wanted to divorce John and marry Sam Green, but Sam wasn't interested, and she had this romantic obsession with him for a while in 1979 and 1980. And when we were in Bermuda, I was in Bermuda with John during that period when Yoko and Sam Green were involved. So, John didn't really know all the details. But she definitely led a double life. She had her own life going and her own friends behind John's back. He knew about some of them, but he didn't know about all of them.
He did enjoy himself, though, on the sea. He learned how to sail. You write beautifully, actually. I really enjoyed your book from the point of view of writing as well. And it seems like he got his dream at least there, because he said he always wanted to go on the sea. I mean, even from the days in Liverpool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sailing played a big part in John's life. And first of all, his father, who had been absent for most of John's life, was a sailor. And when he did hang out with his father had all these amazing tales of adventures at sea. So that had captured John's imagination early on, and he used to sit by the docks in Liverpool and watch the ships come and go, and he used to sometimes befriend some of the sailors. So, yeah, that was one of his fantasies, was to sail, and he got to fulfill it. I bought him a little sailboat when we were living in Long Island on the North Shore by the sea, and we did some sailing there, and then, of course, he sailed to Bermuda through a major storm, and he actually steered the boat because everybody else got sick. And that was really a transformative experience for him, because he sort of rediscovered his inner strength and power. And that's really the spark that led him to start writing again. And, he became renewed creatively after years of really not doing much of anything.
Also, you say in a book that Yoko consistently used heroin throughout this time you worked for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's no secret. You don't have to read my book to know that.
Yes,
Yoko herself admitted it. She gave interviews where she said that she used heroin throughout much of her life. And, that's not one of the things that should be held against them, I mean, we should not be judgmental about the drugs that people use.
No, of course.
Yoko liked heroin, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was illegal, yes, but, that's not something that should be held against her.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand, of course, what you mean. It's just that it happened, and John actually stayed away. She managed to keep this away from John, her habit.
No, I mean, they pretended. John pretended that he didn't know that she was still using, but of course he knew. He could tell.
Yeah.
And in fact, in 1980, the spring of 1980, she tried to get off heroin with the help of Sam Green, and that's one of the reasons why she sent John and me and my Aunt Helen and Sean to this house in Long Island, Cold Spring Harbor, because she didn't want anybody around while she was withdrawing. And the official story was that she had the flu. She had a severe flu.
Russian
and
flu.
Trying to get over that. Very highly contagious.
Yes.
But the real story was that she was trying to get off heroin, and I think she did for a while, but then she got back on.